Real True Education, not fake news, 28th of March 2021. You're very welcome back. It's a very wet day and I'm a farmer and I'm after being down at the housing, the shed, and the heifer got out and I had to try and get her back in the wet and I got drenched, so the clothes are drying. I have to make do with just a few duds I have, a few things I have. Anyway, I got her back in and everything's alright. This is 17/8/12. I'm sorry I don't have a black marker, and it's more on COVID, more to say on COVID-19. Now in the previous video, 17/8/11, somebody picked me up and said I said an asterisk instead of an asteroid. I mean, we are not prepared for an asteroid strike. The idea that we should be prepared for everything is ridiculous. So this is the conditioning that we're being subject to. I also said that electricity prices, according to the Economic and Social Research Institute, are to rise 2.69%. I meant 2.69 times. So a €100 bill will be 269 euros. Okay, so just to correct those little things. Now currently there's a Cavan priest down in Mullahoran, and he was fined €500. He said mass and people came in, he didn't lock the doors, and the police, the Gardaí, took him up and he's fined €500 and he has to go to jail unless someone pays it. And I would advise people not to pay it. I know a lot of us would chip in €50, we would indeed, but I'd like to hear his opinion. I'd like him to advise on that. He says he's going to go to prison, and I can tell you, Father, if you're convicted and you do prison, you're no criminal in my eyes. You're no criminal. You'll never be a criminal, and no priest should ever be a criminal again. We went through that in the penal times, in the early 1800s and late 1700s, where priests had to say mass on mass rocks and were criminals, and some of them shot for saying mass. Now that is out. So no matter what happens, the priest, I think he's Father McHugh or Father Hughes, doesn't matter, he'll never be a criminal, never ever. Now the question then is, where is the flu gone? Where is the flu gone? The ordinary flu. It's gone. It's not a case at all. There is a dirtier dose. Oh, a dirtier dose, I know. And the other question is it an internet pandemic? I'm a farmer, and I can tell you, only for selling cattle and buying cattle on the internet, if you couldn't go into the market and buy cattle, you'd have a very, very serious situation. I wouldn't have got rid of some of my older cows. I wouldn't have got rid of some of my fat cattle. They'd be down there in the shed, and more cows being born. And maybe I have enough fodder, because I manage, but I manage on the basis that I'll be able to sell. So is it an internet pandemic? What would government do if there was no internet to sell cattle? And it's been used for other things as well. It's been used for other things as well. So what would they do if there was no internet to sell cattle? This begs the question, is this an internet pandemic? Was this taken into account when they decided to do all this lockdown? Another question is, who are the experts? Who actually are the experts that we're being told are the experts in all of this? And I've made the point, why don't they do random tests? Why don't they do the random sampling? Sample 3,000 people. A big thing in the paper last week, they want to force everyone to be tested. Why don't they just test 3,000? We saw anyone will volunteer and not publish the results, not identify the people, and find out from that what the random sample tells us about the whole population. They can do it for elections. There's something not right about that. The other thing is about the lockdowns and the essential services, like dentistry, medicine, supply of fuel, the hardware shops, the food shops, the food production, and fishing and all that. You can go out on a fishing boat and a trawler and fish with your mates, and you can't build a house on shore. And it stands to reason that there has to be an effective percentage rate for essential activity. We say that it's 70% effective. In other words, if you didn't have it, 100 people would contact the disease, the virus, COVID-19. And when you do have it, only 30 do. So we say it's 70% effective for 3 months. So for 3 months you cut it down to 2. Well, then it's only 40% effective for 6 months, and it's only 10% effective for 9 months, and it's not effective at all after a year. What I'm trying to get into your mind, folks, is that it's time affected. There's a time, T-I-M-E. Any limited lockdown where people can go into certain essential services, certain shops, and do certain activities, will eventually be overcome, because everybody will eventually go into those shops and can be potentially infected in those places, those dentistries, those hospitals, and all of that sort of stuff. The courts in Dublin is a sort of half lockdown, and there's no one appointed. You have to go on the line on the internet and check how it works. They never appointed a liaison officer to help with how you get through the whole lockdown and the internet thing. And that's all internet based now. You can plead and give your case and fight your case on the internet. But what would happen if there was no internet? Now, I know people say technology moved on, it's the airplanes and the flying that's causing all this. So that is a counter argument to that. But my point is that unless lockdown is 100% effective, unless it has a time limit. Unless if it's only partially effective, then as time rolls on, it becomes down to zero. It wears down to zero effectiveness. I don't know exactly how effective it is, but it's clear to see the roads of the country are buzzing, the shops are buzzing, anyone that can get work done is doing it. You can't get anyone to do a job. Everyone's on top of their head who can work. So there's, as Ivan Yates rightly said, there's about a third who are in that position. There's the other third who are working for the state, who are policing all this and doing all the state's work, and the other third are not allowed to work. So it's a strange situation, but just I'd like to sell that idea to you that lockdowns, unless they're 100% effective, 100% lockdown where nobody can go out of their house, they're not 100% effective. And a very good example of that is some very elderly people and some very vulnerable people are isolating. I know them in my community. They're isolating. They're being brought their meals. There's all this type of thing going on, and it's working. They're not getting it. They're not getting the disease because they're at home, they're very good stringent precautions, and they're very well looked after. And I always said, do that, for God's sake, do that. Let everyone be looked after that's vulnerable and give them a chance, and spend the money, take it out of my pocket, I don't mind, and look after those people. But I have this issue with this idea that the lockdowns are how effective they are, and how effective they are over a long time. So as I said, they never did the random sample test, and yet it was in the paper the other day they're going to force the test on everyone. One has already been tested, and yet they wouldn't do a random sample test. Now, a Dublin man got the vaccine. This is from a very, very reliable source. I trust this person 100%. He got the vaccine last week, and he actually fell on the ground, and he was shaking, and his hands was crossed, and he got up, and he was doing something with a ladder, and he nearly fell off the ladder. The ladder was shaking, and the doctor told him, you will have a reaction. You could have a reaction. Some people are told that, but there is a reaction, but they're saying it's no harm. But this man had to lie down with it, so it has an impact. I say no more about that. Now, our personal liberties are being taken away, and this should not be done lightly. And I would have said that at the very least, there should be some body, some trusted body, to judge what's happening and look into this. I hear that in a case by Declan Ganley, taken in the courts in Ireland about going to church and mass, that the High Court in Dublin has given the state at a particular time to state what the law is on going to mass, where it is in the legislation. And I have been a bit remiss in not telling you the legislation. I've got off to a great start. But the reason is I have something else going on, which I'll explain to you again, and I can't be everywhere. I can't be everywhere. But what is the actual legislation? Now, the other thing then is about having some expert panel. And I would have thought, like the President Higgins, he is the elected representative of the people, and he's a bit of a left-winger, but his reputation is impeccable. And even in Britain, the royal family could be doing this as well. I mean, you could have someone reliable there. There wouldn't have to be the Queen, but it could be maybe Prince William and other people, and a few contrary people on it, to tease this out. There should be a committee sitting in Dublin with about 11 people, an uneven number, to debate these things and to get onto the government and to ensure that everything is being checked out and that they're working for everybody. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if you had, we'd say, even Patricia Cahill, who says this is a bad idea, if you had her on there and you had the President maybe as chairman and have a retired judge. I mean, these retired judges in the High Court, they've done a good job in tribunals and all that type of thing. Justice Flood and the Mahon Tribunal, and I'd have a couple of them on it. And you could have a couple of business people. You could have 12 or 13 people. They don't have to meet physically, but they could work by the internet or whatever. And to assure us themselves, folks, we've had a meeting today, we've had a bit of disagreement, we still think we have to go on with this. We won't counter it. There's a few little issues we're bringing up. We think that maybe the random sampling would be a good idea. We think maybe that we have to look at what the effects of the lockdown are, how it's transmitted. But for the moment, we're prepared to stamp this for another month. Like, if that happened, we'd have somebody there to represent us that we could trust to a degree, and who have nothing to lose. I mean, a retired judge, age 72, he or she, they don't have anything to lose. They can't be sacked, and they have a moral responsibility, and I think they would take it pretty seriously. I think the same for all the other people. Dare I say, even maybe a politician could be stuck on it if they were retired, but not serving. Maybe even a senator. So that's what I'm saying. People with intelligence, and you could have a professor out of a university. You have people like who are economists and things like that, who would look about statistics and deal with statistics. And you could have what do they call immunologists and people who specify in the spread of bacteria and virus infections. And you could have a bit of that all around. And even they got it wrong. Folks, you'd have that body there. You'd have this contentment that there was open, transparent, fair play taking place. They might get it wrong, but I wouldn't mind a mistake. The person who never made a mistake never made anything. At the moment, it's a blank check by government and a few limited medical people to do exactly what they like, taking their directions from God knows where. We have no idea, and we the people have no say, and we risk being made criminals of for things that you'd never believe 5 years ago. Folks, that's it, folks. Hope I got that all right. I'll sign off now. Give me a thumbs up, please, or a thumbs down for the two videos, and thank you for joining. I think I have 607 subscribers at the moment. Openness and transparency would be nice to have, and it'd be nice to have a few contrary devils, a few our judges, the President, and a few other people, a mix of people who would meet and discuss and point out various issues, give them a few pound and let them get on with it. And then we could get on with doing what we're asked to do, and when they would appeal to us to cooperate, we would probably feel better and we would probably do it. At the moment, we're relying on people we do not trust. We're relying on people who I do not trust, like Eamon Ryan. I don't believe in his competence. I don't believe in many of the Fine Gael people's competence. We know they get it wrong. We know leading up to the 2008 economic collapse, leading up to it, we were shouting from the rafters, you have to put the brakes on the economy. Start taking away tax breaks on property. They wouldn't do it. Bertie Ahern said, nobody told me. Nobody told me. That's my view, folks. Thumbs up, please, or a thumbs down. I'm not happy. I know it's a dangerous virus. I'm not happy with the way it's going. And I think here this morning, a group of people assembled at the church in Mullahoran, the Catholic Church for Mass, and the Irish Police, the Gardaí, were out there to take action against them. I'm very worried, very, very worried that the National Police Force, the guardians of the peace is what they mean. I'm very worried, very, very worried that they're forced to do that. I don't think I need the worst of them for it. I know they have to take the orders, but I'm providing a framework by which there would be a wee bit better done, which the whole thing could be a little bit better done, and maybe that will be more open and transparent. I've already said in the original video, the next thing coming, you can do it for COVID, you can do it for climate. That's coming down the road. They're going to leave us with no rights. Our personal rights and liberties are going to be taken away and I want to try and alert you